A bright future forecasted by Prime Minister Christie as he addressed the business community at the Business Outlook session. I'm Clint Watson to tell you what he had to say ahead in the Bahamas tonight.
It was back to court for a police officer charged with child pornography. Find out what happened today.
And then hear more about that land dispute in San Salvador, where it's believed pirate treasure is buried. The Bahamas Tonight, the National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Major investments in the pipeline to boost the country's #1 industry. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Saunders.
And I'm Charisma Robinson. The nation chief says his government has been busy negotiating key investments that will not only attract business to our #1 industry, but employment as well.
The nation's leader was addressing the annual Business Outlook Forum at the Melia Resort, while outlining in detail the number of investments from island to island that is anticipated to generate a positive outlook. Mr. Christie sought to set the record straight that Junkanoo Carnival is a key factor in improving the overall tourism product. He also reported that government debt and fuel is headed in the right direction.
The biggest threat to the success of the tourism sector is the product itself. Visitors have complained that there's not enough to do, particularly when visiting the capital, Nassau. And with thousands of new rooms coming on stream in a matter of weeks, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie says Junkanoo Carnival is a perfect event to attract a new niche market. Tourism figures are sluggish, in part due to some 3 major hotels undergoing renovations. But with tourism accounting for 70% of GDP, Mr. Christie says a concerted effort must be made to shore up the industry.
Festivals have become extremely popular throughout the region, primarily because of its measurable impact on government taxes. We expect that our creative sector, through our festivals, will deliver added value to the visitor experience and revenues to government, leading to significant economic benefits. Significant economic benefits to be gained both in taxes and employment from the development and sale of quality Bahamian music, entertainment, art, and crafts, from Bahamian fashion, Bahamian literature, and from our cuisine and cultural activities.
The government continues to receive criticism for Junkanoo Carnival, many saying it's pushing Junkanoo aside, but Mr. Christie is adamant that's not the case.
We're going to give the fellas who have the geniuses with shaping cardboards and matching colors, and they will discover there's a little short gap between making those costumes for Carnival and designing things that tourists will buy in the Bahamas. Nothing to do with lack of dignity, nothing to do with outrageous costumes, but to do with the concept.
The nation's leader says they've been consulting with major international production companies to design events and platforms for local artists to work.
Why have we allowed Bahamian musicians to become extinct, so to speak? I said, this is going to give us an opportunity to create superstars Bahamians. We're going to create a giant platform for Junkanoo on Clifford Park.
Mr. Christie outlined in great detail the investment opportunities coming to various family islands and the expansion plans for existing properties. This, coupled with some 5,000 Bahama jobs, are expected to directly impact unemployment. The government also working hard to increase the airlift, in particular direct flights from China. The Prime Minister also pleased to report that the country's debt is moving in the right direction, falling the second quarter last year by $65 million. The cost of electricity expected to go down in this month's billing.
BEC has instituted billing reductions in the range of 11% to 12% for residential consumers for the specified period October 2014 to January 2015. I'm advised by BEC that we should see in the January billings the beginning of reductions in the cost per kilowatt hour. Fuel surcharge has dropped by about 5 cents, which is a reduction of 17%. commercial consumers will be getting reductions on their bills, and that further interventions will occur in the coming months.
Prime Minister says the country is on its way to economic prosperity. He says his government has been busy creating opportunities for Bahamians, ones that he hoped the business community will take advantage of. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
All right, Clint, thanks a lot. With the introduction of value-added tax on January 1st, the opening of the multi-billion-dollar Baha Mar Resort, and a number of projects set to come on stream this year, all eyes will be on the Bahamas as an international credit rating agency plans to closely monitor the country's developments over the next 12 months. That story tonight from Sieska Adderley.
Ratings analyst from Standard & Poor's Rating Services, Julia Smith, applauded the government for introducing value-added tax at 7.5% on January 1st. Smith, who spoke to ZNS via telephone from Buenos Aires, Argentina, says the Bahamas is moving in the right direction now that VAT has been implemented, but maintains that the key to its success will be how businesses complete the filing process and the payment of returns in order to see just how much revenue is actually being collected by the government. It's a situation, Smith says, will be monitored closely by them.
One of the things that we are looking for is if the government can really reach its target of collecting 3% of GDP in VAT revenues the first full year that's in place. So that's one of the key factors that we'll be monitoring over the next year.
Yesterday, Financial Secretary John Roll expressed confidence in the government's ability to collect over $300 million in revenue from VAT. However, Smith believes that outlook might be too ambitious to achieve right out of the gate.
Well, we think it's an ambitious goal, but, I think at this point it's a little premature to assess how successful the VAT is going to be. It was just put into place at the beginning of January, so I think it's a little early to tell what effect it's really going to have on the government's finances.
In addition to the VAT process, Smith revealed S&P will be monitoring other areas such as the Bank of the Bahamas' bailout and the upcoming opening of the multi-billion-dollar Baha Mar Resort.
We'll also be monitoring, the growth story in the Bahamas this year. In March, the Baha Mar will be open to tourists, so seeing, what's the effect of that on the country's GDP growth and other tourism projects, and seeing if that can really give a boost to the GDP growth story. That's also something that we'll be monitoring closely this year.
Overall, Smith believes 2015 is going to be an important year for the Bahamas, and they will continue to keep a close eye on those developments and how that will impact the country's ability to grow the economy in the future. Sieska Adderley, ZNS Network News.
The police officer facing a child pornography charge, Edmund Lewis Jr., was granted $5,000 bail today with 2 sureties and reporting conditions. Lewis has pleaded not guilty to the charge. During today's proceedings, Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt did not place the usual reporting conditions on Lewis, noting that at the time of the arraignment, he was working as a police officer for 10 years. Instead, she ordered him to report to the Wolf Road Police Station just once a month on the 15th. His case was adjourned to March 2nd. As Lewis was leaving the court, the chief magistrate offered a word of encouragement to the officer, telling him that he can never see a rainbow unless he goes through the rain.
Still in court today, Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett handed down a decision in the decades-old case involving a dispute over 47 acres of land in San Salvador, which was granted by the Crown to Nimrod Newton back in 1876. Legend has it that pirate treasure is buried on the southern portion of that land. Parties involved in the case include the petitioner, Bert DeVoe, and adverse claimants Ominous Butler, Verna Gilbert, Dorothy Blackdeal, and Dennis Bethel. Butler claimed the entire 47 acres of land, while Gilbert claimed 2.64 acres, Black only a small portion of the land, and Bethel claimed to be representing the estate of Nimrod Newton. However, the Chief Justice, in his ruling and after listing his reasons, dismissed the petition of Bert DeVoe. As to the other parties involved in the matter, the Chief Justice determined that the boundaries dispute should be resolved by ordinary action. He further noted that a certificate of title to the area where the Rolls homestead was located at the top of the hill should be granted to Verna Gilbert, following a survey of that area. However, he rejected Gilbert's claim to a possessory title to any other area. The Chief Justice also dismissed the petition of Dennis Bethel, noting that no other certificate of title will be issued to the other parties in this case.
The Court of Appeal holding a special sitting today to mark the opening of the legal year. The proceedings took place in the High Court's new home on the 3rd floor of Carlton House, Charlotte Street. During the proceedings, Court President Justice Anita Allen proposed that the judiciary interact with the community to a greater extent than it does now by speaking to community groups, explaining their role, and by listening to them about their experiences with the legal system. She noted that this would increase the public's knowledge and confidence in the legal system. At the same time, she suggested that the judiciary hold regular meetings with government, the Commissioner of Police, and legal profession representatives of civil society to discuss and find solutions for the important issues facing the country. Justice Allen also noted that the renovations to the 3rd floor of Carlton House, Charlotte Street, where the Court of Appeal is now housed is complete, and as a part of the delivery of furnishing the new accommodations include 2 large courtrooms and will allow the appeals court to have 2 judges sitting to hear appeals at the same time, once the full complement of judges is realized. The country's leader addressing issues plaguing Caribbean countries.
And then GSSA sudden death playoff in basketball action. We've got the highlights coming up. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.